In this video, I'm going to show you how to do an oil change for a 2013 Audi Q7 TDI. So one thing I want to start doing in these videos is start giving you guys the part numbers and where I get them from, because I think it's kind of pointless to make these videos and if I don't tell you guys in the description or on camera where I get the parts from and whatnot. But I'll say about 97% of the time I get my stuff from FCP Euro, and I'll put a link to their website down in the description. No, I'm not getting paid by them, but it's a great website. It's always my one stop go where I always go first to see if they have it, and if they don't, I just go to another website. But first, you need a oil filter, and this is the part number is OX420D, and I use this brand Mahle or Moly. I don't know how you pronounce it. Sorry if I butchered the name wrong. So for the 2007, I believe, to 2012, the oil filter is going to be different. And for the 2013 to 15, the oil filters are actually shorter. So if you have a 2007 to 2012, do not use this filter. You're going to use a different filter, which is actually longer than this filter. 2012 and 15, like I said, this is the filter that you need right here. And we're going to use, this is the oil that I use. It's by Liquid Moly, 4200, 5W30. And it doesn't matter which oil you use, as long as it's for diesels, and has to be the VW507 specifications. I doubt this camera is going to pick it up, but it says it right here. So make sure it's the VW507. Doesn't matter which brand it is, but as long as it's for diesel. This is for diesels and gasoline, it says, but I use this just for the Q7. This is a 32 millimeter socket. I use this for the oil, for the lid, or the cap of the oil filter. You don't need one, you can use a crescent wrench, but why not? Also, I got this from FCP. All this I got from FCP Euro, except for the torque wrench. And then to extract the oil, I'm going to do the extraction way. So I have this. It's by EWK. So I've been using this for quite a while and I actually really love it. And I got this from Amazon. So I'll post a link also to where I got this on Amazon. Before you start, I actually recommend take the car out for a drive around the block. Let the oil heat up. Because when you extract the oil, when you do the extraction method, it's a lot easier for the extractor to suck out all the oil when the oil is nice and warm, as compared when it's cold. Let's go ahead and pop the cover off. When it's nice and warm, it's actually a lot easier to pop this stuff off, because when it's cold, things get kind of brittle, and you don't want things to be breaking on you. Just to recap, if you're not familiar, this right here is where the oil filter is, your dipstick, and where we fill in the oil. So we're going to put the extractor right here through the dipstick. Alright, so we're going to remove the dipstick. I'm going to wipe it down real quick so I don't get oil everywhere, I suppose. One thing I want to say before I start, when I first started, so this end goes into the where the dipstick goes. So if you see right here, I marked a little tape of where, so this is supposed to be flush with this part right here, because before, when I would put the dipstick, the tube down hole, I was get confused, because you somewhere along the line, watch, probably not gonna happen. See right here, it feels like I'm hitting something, so I'm like tagging on something. And I went ahead and connected this end right here to the extractor. Oil will be coming out. Then all of a sudden, no more oil will be coming out. So it was kind of strange because there was barely any oil coming out. So what I ended up doing is actually, it's not bottom. So I went ahead and put a tape here and got it right to where it should be. So right here, I put a little painter's tape right here, marked it where it should bottom out. And if you are wondering, from the very tip to the tape, it's about 30 inches in length. So if you want to measure from here to there, it's 30 inches in length to get to the bottom. So you got to hit it just right So right there I'm snagging on something. I don't know what it is exactly, but let's see if we can, there we go. So I do a little twist, and then once you get to right there, that's when you bottom out right there. So now I'm going to connect the other part of the hose to the extractor, like this. This is how I have it. So we have the little piece of tape almost flush with where the dipstick ends right here, with one hose and down to the pump. So I can use a air filter hose an air hose, connect right here and just do the suction all around. But in this case I'm gonna use the hand pump, which is cool about this oil extractor. You have two options. You can use the air compressor or do it by hand, but in this purpose I'm just gonna do it by hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's close this up. Now let's go. So there you go. You can see the oil is being extracted. Give it a good few pumps. And one thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to crack the cap open so I don't create a vacuum, and it's easier for the extractor to suck out all the oil out. Depending on the amount that you get or how big the oil extractor you get, you're going to have to pause halfway through. So fill line is right here. So obviously I still got to wait. I don't know if the camera can see the level. So you can see I'm just slightly right above the full line. So I'm going to go ahead, stop the suction, empty this out, and continue on with extracting the oil. As you can see, I emptied out the oil from the extractor. So right now it's all empty right now. So I'm going to continue on with finishing off the rest. And again, this is 6 liters that this thing can hold. So far we've extracted 6 liters out of the car. So I'm going to continue pumping away and getting the rest of the oil. So to see how much oil this thing really did extract, if you can remember the first time it filled up all the way up to the top, just a little bit past the 6 liter, and the second time around it filled it up to the 2 liter mark, just a little bit over. So in total that's about 8 liters that we extracted using this. So we had to do this twice, because depending on, again, like I said before, the size of the oil extractor you get, depends how many times you're gonna have to stop, empty this out, and do it again. But in this case I only had to do it twice. So a total of 8 liters, a little bit over 8 liters that we extracted from the Q7. Go ahead and loosen up the oil cap right here on the oil filter cap, and again that's a 32 millimeter socket that you need, or you can just use a crescent wrench. There, just nice and easy. Do it slowly because you don't want to spill oil. There, so you can see that little notch I was talking about is towards the bottom. So you just grab it, give it a good nice tug. There we go. Wiggle it around. It's a little tough. I'm not trying to make a mess because I don't want oil to go everywhere. So there you go. And also the kit comes with a new green O-ring, so we're going to be replacing that O-ring. So what I do to remove the before you start, just keep know where the O-ring goes, so not to get confused to like place the O-ring here or where the threads are. So what I use a pick, and I go ahead, just stick it in there and just go ahead and pop it off like that. So the O-ring, make sure you throw this off to the side so you don't get confused with the new O-ring. And then here's the nice and easy one. You can actually do this by hand. It's nice and soft. It's not. And remember, it goes into this little groove right here. Again, don't let the O-ring go in a different groove. So there we go. And before we put the cap on, obviously the new filter. So remember, this notch right here is the bottom part. So this part right here is gonna click in to right here. So you're gonna snap it in, get some oil, some new oil, clean oil, and lubricate the new O-ring, because you don't want to screw this back on with the O-ring being dry. You want that O-ring to be lubricated. Once that's done, go ahead and put it back in the center, and then you go ahead and hand tighten it at first so you don't do any cross threads if you do it with a ratchet. So now that you can't go anymore, we're gonna go ahead and torque wrench the cap, and the cap is 35 Newton meters for the correct torque spec for the cap. I set it to 35 Newton meters. So now we can go ahead and make sure it's in the tight positioning. Once they start bottoming out, go a little bit slow. There. Because I'm OCD, I always like to do this a bit. So now you're at the correct torque spec. And if you forget, right here on the little lid right here, it's a 35 Newton meters. So if you forget, it shows the spec right here. Now that we extracted the oil out from the engine and we just replaced with the new oil filter and the new O-ring, I went ahead and put the dipstick back in, remove the lid, and now what we're gonna do is top it off with the new oil. And we know, at least since we extracted 8 liters out, we're gonna at least put in 8 liters back in. Okay, just finished putting in the oil, and one way to check is obviously using your dipstick. So when you pull your dipstick, I'm pretty sure the camera's not going to pick it up, but I already see that I hit the full line. That does not mean that I'm good to go. So once you hit the full line, what I like to do is run the car for a little bit, let the oil go through the whole, the whole engine, and then let it sit just for a little bit, and then see what we get on our dipstick. And I'm going to pull out the dipstick, and if you notice, you should be able to see where it's at. So it's just barely right above where my thumb is, right above the min line. This is right above the min line. So we're going to continue topping, remove the lid and continue topping that off. Okay, now let's see where we are right now. And it looks like, yep, we're just at the max line, so that's good. I'm going to go ahead and put the lid back on. Turn on the car, let the oil run through the engine again, and see where we sit with the oil level. Right below the max line. So cool. Cover back on. We are gonna go to car. We're gonna go to car system. Scroll down to where it says service and check. And then we're going to go to service intervals, and we're going to go down to the bottom where it says reset oil change interval. Are you sure you want to reset the oil? Yes, because we just did that. Oil change interval has been reset, so you're good to go. So you see right here where it says next oil change, it's every 10,000 miles or every 365 days, which is pretty much close to a year. Not to get that confused with the next inspection. So I did so a while back I did a video of the difference, how to change the oil using the MMI. As far as the inspection, you have to use VAGCOM or take it to a dealership to get that reset. So in this video I just did to change the oil using the MMI. And then another video that I did, you can change the oil level, the oil change interval using VAGCOM. So thank you for watching, and how to change the oil to a 2013 Audi Q7 TDI, and have a good day.